Once upon a time, nestled between gentle hills and whispering forests, there was a village bursting with vibrant colors. Sunlight painted the windows orange every morning, and by afternoon, the air was filled with the scent of blooming wildflowers, each one glowing in every hue imaginable. The walls of every home bore joyful murals, painted by generations of villagers who poured their hearts onto stone. Sometimes, children would sit with their grandparents, brushing colors onto stone walls while listening to stories that made them laugh and cry. These paintings weren't decorations. They were memories made visible, feelings turned into color. People in this village wore their feelings like badges of honor. A man with tear-streaked cheeks would be offered warm bread and a patient ear. A woman glowing with joy would break into dance in the middle of the market square, and strangers would join in without hesitation. Love was loud. Grief was gentle. Anger was acknowledged, not feared. And through these emotions, the village lived, breathed, and shimmered. But slowly, so slowly that no one noticed at first, something began to change. Not all at once, but little by little. A harsh word went unspoken. A sorrowful look was quickly masked with a polite smile. People began to think, "No one needs to see this. I should keep it to myself." And so they did. It didn't happen overnight. It crept in like a fog, quiet, slow, unassuming. One day, someone stopped humming while they worked. Another day, someone decided not to write that letter they'd been meaning to. No one made a rule against emotion. It simply slipped away, unnoticed. They bottled up their sadness. They silenced their anger. They kept their love unspoken, trapped behind uncertain hearts and closed lips. And as emotions were hidden, something strange happened. The colors began to fade. The bright blues of joy dulled. The fiery reds of passion and anger disappeared. The warm pinks and golds of love melted into gray. And even the air felt different. Laughter used to echo like birdsong. Now it was gone, replaced by stillness that stretched too long between footsteps and doorways. Homes that once radiated light now stood pale and cold. Murals that once danced with color became flat and lifeless. And eventually, the village itself became a hollow shell, colorless, soundless, emotionless. At first, no one really noticed. They went about their days, politely nodding, quietly working, exchanging words without weight. There were no fights, but no laughter either. There was peace, but no warmth. No one was hurt, but no one was truly alive. Days turned into seasons. The village looked the same, but something essential had vanished. No one could name it. They simply moved a little slower, spoke a little softer, forgot why they ever danced. Then, one quiet morning, something remarkable happened. From the forest path came a small child, no older than 6, with eyes like bright stars and cheeks flushed red with life. In their hand floated a single, brilliant red balloon, the only color left in the entire village. The balloon shimmered in the sunlight, glowing softly, like a heartbeat. The child said nothing, only offering a quiet smile to each passerby. And the villagers. They couldn't look away. For a long moment, no one moved. They simply watched the child, and the balloon, and the way the sunlight seemed to follow them. It was as if the child's presence rewound something inside them, a part they didn't know they'd silenced. Whispers fluttered from house to house. Where did the child come from? How is that balloon still so red? What is that feeling in my chest? Because something stirred. Something small, something long forgotten. A woman felt a sudden warmth spread across her chest and realized she missed her sister. A man felt his eyes sting with tears and didn't blink them away this time. Someone laughed. A real, unrestrained laugh, and suddenly, the miracle began. Children began to follow, first 1, then 3, then a dozen. They skipped behind the child, eyes wide, cheeks flushed. One of them reached out to touch the balloon, but stopped, as if sensing it wasn't meant to be held, only witnessed. color returned, not all at once, but in flickers. A scarf turned blue. A mural blinked back to life with pink blossoms. A child's drawing glowed with golden suns and purple skies. And everywhere the child walked, memories bloomed, not of events, but of feelings. The ache of a hug after too long, the dizzy thrill of a first crush, the bitter sting of loss, and the peace of being held through it. Some people wept for hours, for reasons they couldn't explain. Others wrote letters they never sent. A man who hadn't spoken to his brother in 10 years crossed the village square and said 2 words, "I'm sorry." That was enough. People cried openly. They hugged without apology. They shouted and danced and sang and whispered, "I missed you, and I love you," without fear. And with every word, every tear, every smile, the village lit up again. Finally, it was full of life once more, full of people who felt everything, and the child stood at the center, still holding the red balloon, now surrounded by a world reborn. But just as the last wall regained its color, a breeze swept through the village. The balloon fluttered, and the child began to fade. No one reached out to stop the child. Somehow, they knew. This wasn't goodbye. It was a passing of something sacred, something only the heart could understand. They looked at the villagers one last time, their smile never leaving, and in a blink, they were gone. Only the balloon remained, floating gently upward into the sky. And even years later, they would tell the story. Do you remember the child with the red balloon? Elders would nod. Children would smile. The balloon was never seen again, but its color never left. The villagers stood silently. Then, without a word, they understood. The miracle hadn't come from the balloon or the child. It had come from their choice to feel, to express, to live. From that day on, they never hid their emotions again. They laughed loudly, they cried without shame, they told the people they loved just how much they mattered every single day. So, are you still staring at that balloon, huh?